Dieses Video hat deutsche Untertitel. Este video tiene subtítulos en español. This video has subtitles in English. Welcome back to Granja Caimito. It's been a while since I posted a new video. There is a lot of stuff going on here, but many of these things are not yet finished. And as I was hoping to tell the whole story for each topic, the wait time for a new video would have been even much longer. So I decided to try something different. This video shows you what's been going on at Granja Caimito in the month of August. And then there will be another video about September and so on. That way the videos show better the development of our project. At some later point I may then make special videos around a topic or a project. If it's interesting and the footage is good, then it's probably not bad to see the good stuff one more time. I hope you will enjoy my report on August at Granja Caimito. Elsewhere, in regions with a temperate climate, summer is the season of fun and joy, growth and reproduction. Here in Andalusia, we are in a Mediterranean climate, and our summer isn't so much about these things, but instead it is a challenging time for all creatures, as the water table in the soil drops, creeks, streams and lakes dry out, and the blazing sun kills soil life by radiation, and wherever there isn't enough shade, evaporation sucks the last bit of moisture out. But there is hope, and the harsh climate challenges can be mitigated if one is willing to try unconventional things. We have planted vetiver grass, which thrives at hot temperatures, grows very long and strong roots, and is able to reach down into the low water table. It also lifts water and nutrients up so that other plants can benefit. Here we made a patch right next to an area where the pigs live temporarily. This is an experiment. We may use vetiver as forage for ruminants and the pigs, or we may use the leaves as mulch. Not only grow the roots up to 4 meters long, but also the leaves can reach 2 meters in length. Of course, first the plants need to grow, and that doesn't work without water, so we irrigate to help them along during the early phase of their lives. The pigs seem to enjoy themselves, and the plus-minus electric fence keeps them away from this new forage. Earlier in the year, we had planted some fast-maturing corn as another experiment, to see how we could feed pigs during summer without buying feed. Most of the corn we harvested while the plants were still green, so the pigs have more to eat. With the last patch we wanted to wait to see how the ripe corn cobs will look like in case we will be actually interested in the cobs instead of the whole plant's biomass. This is the last remaining patch of corn, and I'll show you later in this video how the pigs enjoyed it. Nature seems to help us out all by herself. This is the grass Cynodon-dactylon. The common name in English is Bermuda grass, which were able to emerge and grow because of our rotational grazing method. It's a native grass and likes the summer heat. It's also very stubborn and penetrates hard things easily. We expect to have some more of it every year from now on. These 2 tomato plants were planted by the cows or horses that were in this area. Last year we thought we might want to use this area again as a market garden, which by looking at the old fencing around it was what someone before us did. We decided otherwise and were surprised to find these lone tomato plants that were growing without any irrigation. They seem to live off the water stored in the soil, and the straw is the mulch that prevents the evaporation quite effectively. Left is a store-bought tomato, and right is one from those lone tomato plants. The taste of ours was rich and fleshy, while the store-bought one was quite watery. This is a madroño shrub. It's common for Spain and Portugal and produces fruit that resemble strawberries. I have no idea how they taste and am looking forward to try them once the bushes bear fruit. We have a few madroños planted on this berm of our very first swale, together with raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries. There are flowers and some fruit, but I have a suspicion that we are hardly ever visited by bees. There are not many flowers around, and a bee would probably starve to death in this area. And because without bees there's no pollination, we don't have many fruits. We certainly want to fix that. Our little food forest next to our compound is now in its second year. Due to lack of time, we didn't really design and plant it as one is supposed to do. But we have a patch of lavender as ground cover here. We regularly cut down the grasses for mulch and try bit by bit to rebuild topsoil, one layer at a time. In here we have many different fruit trees and a few support species. This clip was taken at the end of August, and the soil in the berms is still moist, so the modification of the landscape is working for us. This year we moved our garden experiment to the food forest. There's a patch of sweet corn, more of the delicious tomatoes, and sweet peppers. Unfortunately, due to lack of knowledge, we are not yet gardeners. We let the corn dry for a bit too long, so this is seed for next year. One of the veterinarians we work with had asked if we had room for 3 little cats someone wanted to give away. We said yes, and now we have these little creatures around. For a while we kept them inside the house, then moved them into a large dog kennel so that they can get to know the dogs and the dogs the kitties. Here I was sitting outside to relax a bit, observing dogs and cats check out each other. All seemed pretty well for a while. The issue with dogs is that they are predators, and they do have a hunting instinct. Training can help to control that instinct to a large extent, but it will always be there. Any dog, when not controlled by his master, might see a fast-moving creature and will go after it. It's in their nature. Dogs are also territorial, and we humans keep dogs to guard and defend a certain place. So a dog who sees a any creature that's not identified as known and friendly is automatically classified as foe, and when it begins moving fast, probably to escape, the hunting instinct kicks in and most likely the hunters will win. There are many reported incidents about small children being attacked by dogs, and there are also many lovely cases where dogs live in harmony with other animals. I didn't know much about that until recently, but by now I've learned that guarding dogs for sheep are actually introduced to the sheep flock at a very young age, so that they basically grow up believing they are sheep as well. I'm no expert on it and would like to learn more, but it appears what actually guards the sheep isn't so much the dog attacking the fox, but the fox assuming that a dog present might do it. Now that we learned that in our case the dogs are 100% predators and won't tolerate any other animal inside their territory, we set out to build a protective cage for the remaining 2 cats. The dogs kept checking out the cats in the cage with great curiosity. In hindsight, I can tell that with great curiosity is a human perception of the situation. It was likely something else. The cats wanted their freedom and were unaware of the danger they were putting themselves in. The smaller cat managed to get out between the bars of the mesh, so we added another layer with chicken wire. Eventually, the dogs dug a hole underneath, and one cat took them up on their offer. She came as far as about 1 meter before she had 8 dogs upon herself. I was close and commanded the dogs to leave her alone. She seemed okay, but shaken, and I placed her back inside the cage. She managed to get to her favorite place. Sadly, she died from internal bleeding a few minutes later. In the middle of our Zone A, we have a temporary creek that used to flood the surrounding areas after a lot of rainfall. As we are in a Mediterranean climate, we get lots of rain during autumn, winter, and spring, and none at all during summer. Flooding and loss of rainwater can be avoided if there are sufficiently large water retention areas. This pond was created for two purposes. One is to avoid flooding, and the other is that we needed fill material to make the future building site for a barn level. The big surprise came after the excavator driver left for the night. The next morning, the hole was filled with water. Now that the pond is finished, it keeps filling up, also there is no rainfall at all. We now have a good idea about where the water table is. It's not that low, and with more deep-rooted plants, we can certainly raise it a bit. That information will help to understand how to mitigate the annual summer drought. As mentioned before, we had planted corn earlier to see how we could feed the pigs without buying commercial feed. Our goal is to create a nutrient cycle on the farm and only export the excess in the form of a finished product. In order to achieve that, we need to figure out how to be independent from outside sources for feeding our animals and the plants as well. Ideally, we only need rain from the sky and replenish the nutrients in the soil by giving back what we take out, and let nature run her recycling plant, which she is pretty good at. So we took the pigs back to zone A04, and luckily for them, we had one of the rare summer rain showers. That's why they look so shiny. The rain didn't last very long, and everything was about to quickly dry up. Here the pigs are harvesting the turnips we also planted for them. It seems they like to dig them out. Whatever there is, they like to chew it up. Now let's move on to the main act of this. The pigs discovered the patch of corn that we left for them. Before we had harvested it by cutting the corn manually with machetes. Let's see how they do it themselves. Pigs look down and uproot things. Their noses find food in the soil or at the surface. That's what they are doing here. But with their bodies they topple the corn plants and then eat the cobs when they come across them. Here and there a pig will also reach for the leaves and chew on them, but mostly it's an action of plowing through the patch and collect from the ground. It works for them and it works for us, because they actually prepare the soil for seeding the next crop. The only problem, and it's a huge one, is that in our climate the soil dries out so quickly. It may be that it's so depleted at the moment due to very little biomass in it, and the situation will improve in a while. But with that dry soil, the pigs have basically helped the desert along. The pigs have been in this area before a few times, but now they are bigger, and so we needed to adjust the hot wires in height and also make sure that there is a neutral wire. The soil is still very dry, and a simple electric fence will not work in these conditions. The tiny pond also needed to be filled up. Pigs cannot sweat, and so that pond is vital for their well-being. At the end of summer, we are making an effort to remove all the dry plant material that is still standing, so that the emerging new grass is not shaded out by the remnants. I'm not absolutely sure about that, because it exposes the soil, but if I look over the fence to the neighbors, I can see that they don't do it, and on their land the grass emerges much later than on ours. So maybe it's not wrong. We put the horses out there as well because their manure is of a different type, and we feel we need every bit of fertilization that we can get at the moment. These boys have grown up big. We keep them separate from the cows now, as we don't want to grow the herd anymore for the moment. We've had a few losses earlier this year and decided to give the cows a rest. After all, we are not trying to sell beef for our animals yet, but instead focus on regenerating soil fertility for a better product later on. We had also acquired an additional bull which is somehow purebred Limousin from a different source than the others. The plan is to use the youngster later on for breeding. Our losses were a few calves during the birthing process, and also for mother cows. It was mostly due to male calves being too big and the mother cows giving birth for the first time. Still, we don't want that to happen, and so we decided to skip this year. However, in the process we learned quite a bit, and also now we have some special equipment that allows us to help the animals without the need to wait for the vet to arrive. The decision to keep the bulls separate from the cows also helps with regard to our carrying capacity. We are basically full and don't need more hungry mouths looking for grass at this time. The new guy, our Limousin bull, figured out he can jump between the wires and escape. The big bulls never tried that, and he went straight for the patches with the emerging summer grass. That's okay, we let him. After all, that grass also needs grazing to grow well. The world wouldn't be perfect without all the little distractions that get in the way. This is a pressure switch that turns off the water pump when the cistern at the end of a pipe is full. It's supposed to last many years, but we've had to replace this thing already a few times. Then one of our two pumps started to fail for no apparent reason. It was installed just a few weeks ago. The provider replaced it and we are now fine. But still, diagnosis and attending the technicians takes a few hours here and there. This pump is connected to a very long pipe that also climbs up about 60 meters. It was supposed to fill up the animal waterers along the 1,500 meters of length. While it was failing intermittently, the animals needed a different water source, so it wasn't simply a matter of calling for a replacement. This DN40 water pipe started to leak once the pump was working fine, and then the hydraulic hoses on our backhoe ruptured, and we had it in the shop for 2 weeks. We decided to replace all hoses as we're using the machine quite a bit. The sheep also wanted to add something to the list. They found out how to jump over the old and toppled stone wall to enter the fruit forest, where they began munching on the leaves of the young trees. So we made the wall higher. The list wouldn't be complete if an entry from the dogs were missing. They dug a hole underneath this door. Thankfully, a wooden fence post was next to it, and the quick fix is still there today. The dogs found entertainment elsewhere. Next up, the Limousin bull and our neighbor. The Limousin bull learned that he can go places, and that there is green grass out there, which is so much better. What you see here is the area of the creek that overflows during heavy rainfall. The fence is basically a joke, but we couldn't get to it just yet. The little bull found a weak spot behind the boulder to the right and enjoyed the green grass on the other side. Animals just want to get to food. It doesn't mean anything, and we certainly don't mind fixing and improving fencing or whatever we installed. But with humans, that's different. We have a neighbor who is renting and is giving the owner a hard time because he doesn't want to leave. These people don't like what we do to our place. In order to get to the land they rent from the nearest public road, they have to use easements and cross over several farms. Our farm is the only one with some meaningful activity, and when this new fencing appeared, they were unhappy and basically on purpose toppled one of the fence posts with their vehicle. The easement is wide enough for a truck, and the excavator that made this road wasn't tiny either. Obviously, they refused to help fixing the damage. While this section was now open and our animals could have followed the easement to invade the next farm, we truncated the animal path. Same neighbor, next problem. Here their cows found a way to topple the weak fence to get to a patch of some green. We have a water pipe running there, and it was leaking, and that little bit of water was enough to make a difference. The cows didn't get far as we have another fence running in that corner, which is part of one of our animal paths. So we were able to simply ignore the issue for now and fix that leak in the pipe. This was a fun distraction. The new water pump does have a lot of pressure, a bit too much if not controlled well. Despite our best efforts with the electric fence, some pigs have learned that they can get out if they are very quick. Thankfully, the pig that did this was looking for buried acorns and didn't pay attention to the vetiver grass which we had planted at a distance from the tree. And then there is the little things. This water pipe wasn't buried yet and burst due to vehicle traffic. The end of this electric band was flapping in the wind and was melting due to the electric current in the red wire. Let's see what the other animals came up with to keep us busy and distracted. The little limousine bull probably thought that all the electric fencing doesn't mean anything to him, and continued to find places where he can get through without receiving the electric shock. Cows and bulls lower their head and push obstacles aside or lift them up, so the little guy found the perfect opportunity here. Eventually, the pigs also had another one for us. They began chewing on the wood of the gate, and before they figure out what they might be able to do, a piece of baling wire closed that window of opportunity. Let's sit down and relax for a bit while the dogs play. Including Mama Dog, we have 9 dogs in total. She gave birth to 3 females and 5 males. Dogs don't care much for family relationships, and the young ones began to explore their reproductive instincts. So we took the 3 girls to the vet to close the puppy factory, before we end up with 3 more litters of 10 puppies each. This is our biggest swale so far. It is mostly on contour, but in 2 places has some sort of a pond integrated. On one side there is a fence, and we want to funnel the water away from it instead of weakening the fence posts. We had a summer shower, and even that was enough to show us how the water leaks out from our depleted soil upslope from the swale, as the hoof prints from the cows show. Water is the most important resource on a farm. The water is supposed to fall from the sky in the form of rain. Farms are not supposed to pump water from deep down below. Unfortunately, in some cases the existing landscape in combination with other factors cannot hold rainwater anymore, and so we need to help nature out a bit to reverse the process of desertification. Originally, we had started digging the swale because of an accident. Our backhoe got stuck in quicksand. But then we had a huge excavator here to fill up an area where we want to build a real barn. It took the huge machine a few hours, what would have taken weeks with the backhoe. The fill material for this platform came out of the pond that I showed you earlier. So in 2 weeks of having a real excavator on site, we got 3 different projects done. To stabilize the platform, we planted some 400 vetiver plants around the edges and added some drip irrigation to help them establish. This was our August update. To us, it doesn't seem that much at the time, but in retrospect, we did get a lot of things done. It's always impressive to see where one spends time and resources on. I hope you like the new format of a monthly update. Please let me know in the comments. As always, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to be notified about future videos. See you soon at Granja Camito.